Now we've established that this solution is a lot better, but still we already know that we're going to run into problems later if we need lots of events for lots of models. So we solve this with model observers, and we're going to take a look behind the scenes in Laravel as well to look at kind of how this works. So when we generate an observer, we can't actually do this on the command line. Laravel doesn't have a command to generate a model observer. So we have to kind of do this manually, but it's not too much trouble because really all it is substituting this callback for a particular class. So in the app directory, what I would typically do, and I think this is out in the manual as well, is create an observers folder. Now inside of here, I would create an individual observer for each type of model. Now in this case, we have a topic, so we would create a topic observer, but in the case of anything else, a post, a user, you can do exactly the same thing. So we won't be covering that, but once you know how to do this, you know how to do it for any model you need. So let's set up the namespace, so it's now under app and observers, and let's go ahead and fill this in. So topic observer, and we're done. So now to actually register this observer, before we create any methods on here, how do we do this? Well, let's go ahead and get rid of this. Instead, what we do is we use observe. So what we're now doing is we are replacing this with the full class path. So in this case, you could either import this at the top or say something like app observers and then say topic observer. Now, if you were going ahead and doing this for a user, you may do the following. So user and then user observer. Maybe you had a post. You would do exactly the same thing. You kind of get the idea. The only difference now, though, is that however many we register of these in here, it really doesn't matter too much because we're not adding all of our logic in here as well as our individual observers. So this makes things a little bit cleaner. It's unlikely that you're going to have hundreds of models, so really this keeps things nice and tidy. So we're at the point where we have an Eloquent event service provider, completely separate provider, and now we're linking this to a class. So what do we do over in this class? Well, we just do the same thing, but we define these out as methods. It's as simple as that. We're just replacing the method call that we did earlier with a class with individual methods. So in our case, we would say creating. We again receive a topic into this, and we can type hint this as well for a little bit of strict checking. So let's go ahead and use app topic. And then in here, we just do exactly what we want to do. But now we can do anything in here, and it doesn't really matter because we're in a separate class. So in this case, all I would want to do is say topic and set the slug. And just before we do this, let's go ahead and die dump on the topic just so we can see that this does actually work. So we've set this up, all looks good, and we can come over and check this out, give that a refresh, and we get that topic again. Now, if we come over to the model that we extend when we create any models, this is again part of the Laravel framework, and we check out this observe method. Let's take a look at this. You can see here that we obviously pass in that class that we've just defined. And then in this case, we are checking if the event that we're listening on. So in here, we are using get observable events. Let's just take a look at this. So these are all of the observable events within Laravel. So we can use any of these if we need to. So back to the observe method in the same class, iterating through each of them observable events. If that particular method exists on the observer that we've created. So for example, if a topic is being restored maybe, so we would have a restored method. If it is being restored, but the method doesn't exist, there's no point registering an observer for it, and we register the event just here. So again, this is in the same class, so we can just come over to this, and all this is doing is listening for Eloquent dot the name of the event, and then going ahead and running what we've defined inside of these methods. So have a really good look through this if you are interested in kind of diving into the scenes, behind the scenes of any of these classes within Laravel. It's always a good idea to do. Either way, we kind of know how this works now. If, say, a topic is being created and the observer that we've registered exists, or the method on the observer we've registered exists, then we know we're going to run it. So in this case then, let's go ahead and say topic slug, set this to str slug, passing in the topic title. It just works in exactly the same way, and we are done. So now, come over here, give that a refresh, and over in the database, we get what we need. So we finally ended up at this kind of solution, and this is the best solution because it allows us to write as much logic or code in here that we need to go ahead and separate it out from either our app service provider or in fact this provider here. So I think for smaller applications, there's nothing wrong with doing topic creating in here and passing in a closure. I wouldn't say don't do that, but if things start to get a little bit crazy, break these out into observers, or if you're kind of looking ahead to the future, go ahead and create an observer now just to keep things easy to update later on. Either way, that is just a really simple idea of setting a slug for a topic every time we create it. But of course, now you are free to do anything you like. And of course, if you need to remind yourselves of what is being observed, so what's being listened to, all the different events, then of course you can come over to here, follow it down, and we know that we have this get observable events method. So we can go in, just open this and check these out just here.